Yes. iPhones for monkeys. That's the line. iPhones for monkeys. It just occurred to me for the first time ever, this. I've never thought about this before. If and it's because everybody's talking about AI and like all the technology and stuff, and it just hit me. Have they ever done an experiment with iPhones with monkeys? I really want to know. And if they haven't, I think that they should. I think that they should do a monkey iPhone experiment and see what happens. Like Koko. Like, what if Koko had an iPhone? Because if Koko was alive, Koko would have... If Koko was alive, then Koko would have a laptop and or an iPhone. I think that they would have done experiments with. I think that her caretakers, who were, they did experiments with television and stuff. I think Coco's chiming in, and this is a line I'm getting. Koko, I'm getting the oracles of Delphi with this. I'm getting there's a lot of channels tapping into this idea. I'm getting the emerald tablets. So this might be. No, it's not a new. There was the Planet of the Apes, you know. But that was a fictional show. But the concept was there. But now that we're in our highest technological point, and with all of the work that was done with Koko, have they done an experiment with a group of monkeys, with set a group of monkeys up with iPhones? Of course, it would be some kind of closed internet that only they were. It would have to have some kind of controlled system, which I'm sure would be really easy. But they could look at anything on the internet. I wonder if I'm curious. I'm curious about this. If I worked for some kind of like NASA or something like that, or like SpaceX or something, if I worked for them, then this would be my proposed experiment that I would want to do. But I would need some kind of, I would do two separate groups. I would do a group that would have been kind of educated, like Koko, if there is even such a group. That was a very special thing. and then I would take monkeys that were semi-domesticated. Wild monkeys, I guess 3 groups. I guess you'd have to have 3 groups. A completely wild group, a semi-domesticated group, and then like a Koko group. And I would consult like Jane Goodall. I would you know, and see what happens. And I like this because this is like a kind of conference, actually, with these channels. They're conferencing with me. They said, yeah, that you would have to, you could do all kinds of different experiments, like, you know, where they make connectors, like see what happens, what's going on in their brain waves. I would do some kind of Kirlian auric photography of them while they were using them, and videography if that's possible. I'm sure it is, to see what's going on in their auric fields while they're interacting with the iPhones. And then also we would have monitoring systems, so we would be looking on monitors, because it would be a small group, and then also see what they could figure out. And then it's kind of slowly, like, and I don't know. It's weird because the whole thing's coming to me with this sort of conferencing, so I can't really access a lot of information just describing this. They said that's because they're showing me, they're giving me the experience, the monkey mind, the monkey's mind. They're kind of giving me like a little experience, the monkey mind. They said that it wouldn't be hard for me to connect with this because I never had an iPhone. Obviously, I've seen them and held them for a second, you know, but I've never had one, and I didn't even like to hold them. It made me nervous, just in general. Well, I always felt like I could drop this really easily, and these things are really expensive. I always thought that was weird. This always seemed off to me. I know this is just a personal note, but I thought, man, if I had one of these, and they're expensive and pretty precious, they have like all your information and stuff, I don't think I would hand that to strangers. I don't think I would hand it to my friends. I probably wouldn't even take it out of the house. and people are remarkably careless with them. Like they drive their car, they put the, like here, people like drive their motorcycles and they stick their mobile phone, like they squish their shoulder to their ear with the mobile phone, they drive the motorcycle. Yeah, and I think, like, what a dumb thing to do. And the phone always slips out, gets broken, and it's like, and I guess it's plain doesn't matter. They just buy a new one. It doesn't even make sense to do. It's remarkably stupid. Remarkably stupid. I don't even think a monkey would do that. But I'm interested in knowing. I am. So there's a suggestion. I think it would be, considering all the other kinds of studies they do on things that are absolutely boring and useless, waste of time and money and everything, I think that would be very good. That I think it would be a good thing to do, and document it, and see what happens. I think that Koko the gorilla, I think that Koko the gorilla could have ran their own YouTube channel. I'm going to put my chips on that one. That's my best guess. I think yes. If it's a yes or a no, I'm going to put it, I would put at least a few good chips on yes. I do think that Koko could have figured out how to run their own YouTube channel. And I think that they would have probably had the highest amount of subscribers. I do. And I think that Koko would have blown our mind with that. I think our minds would have been blown with what Koko came up with for YouTube. And one of the interesting things about Koko was that Koko could do sign language. I think this was, yeah. And so Koko could communicate, speak, basically. Koko could speak to human beings, and like a human being, and that would have been very interesting. They basically did, they did as much as they possibly could with Koko. And I think one of the most interesting things that happened was when they invited people that Koko watched on TV to come and visit Koko. And Koko was a very big fan of Mr. Rogers. And Robin Williams, and they both came to meet Koko, and every time I see this footage, it makes me cry. It's really emotionally overwhelming for me, that and Koko is chiming in a little bit. She said it was really emotionally overwhelming for her, that, as it only would be, even for a human being, but to be a gorilla that can speak to human beings and is part of this seriously important and very unique experiment that was not cruel at all. That in itself is highly significant. I know that they have sent monkeys to outer space, and I didn't agree with that and don't agree with that. I think it's totally wrong to send animals to outer space. I think it's a cruelty. I think that's a cruel thing to do. And was a mistake, and was kind of a weird idea. Anyways, they sent a dog to space also. Yeah. They sent those are the only two animals I know that they did space experiments with, and I don't understand why they did that. They're reconnecting me with a reading that I did with monkeys. And it's the same line, and I did a channeled reading with the monkeys some time ago. I did quite a few readings, specifically with the animal kingdom in that time period, and they explained something to me which I can't really reiterate in this moment, but it was along the lines of, for example, the iPhone. So if you introduced, like say you introduced this iPhone in an experiment to monkeys, and then return them to the wild, they would rob human beings of their iPhones, and they would also teach the other monkeys how to use them. Right. They're telling me this directly. Yeah. And it's true. So, consider it. Just think about it. It's a good thing to think about if you're putting a lot of thoughts into AI and modern technology and stuff, because eventually that would happen. Monkeys could even steal iPhones and maybe they could even figure out by themselves something about that maybe people didn't think was possible, just on their own without a lab.
Thank you for calling Corno Control TV Radio and Radio for the Blind.